Hey there, everybody. I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Chris Yee.
And today we're going to be taking a look at Witchcraft. Witchcraft here. This is coming from publisher Salt and Pepper Games, a new-ish publisher on the scene, and they've really kind of made a name for themselves with Resist, and now Witchcraft, which is an iteration on Resist, and a number of other games that are coming out. In Witchcraft, you are playing as a coven of witches, yes?
Yes.
And you are trying to influence jurors who are putting you on trial.
For evil? No, actually for good.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, right. You are not the antagonists in this story.
That is correct. Yeah,
that's the main thing.
Yeah, they basically paint this as, these women were unfairly accused of these things, and you're trying to prove your innocence.
All right. And protect your village.
And protect your village.
From otherworldly powers,
We cannot forget that. All right, well, that's the theme. Let's take a look at how it actually plays mechanically, and then we'll come back and let you know what we think of it. All right, here we see Witchcraft all set up, and this is a solo game where you are playing as a coven of witches, and you're trying to complete missions in the village to persuade people that you are working for good. You have 3 jurors that are going to be out here, and you've got missions that are specific to those jurors that are in this row right here. So what you're going to be doing on your turn is going through this process. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of this. So the first thing you can do is play any witches. You're going to draw 5 cards at the beginning of your turn here. I've got 4 witches and 1 curse card, which is really just kind of a clog of the deck there. Then you're going to choose which of these 3 missions you're going to be going for. After that, you have to play any remaining witches that you did not play during the first step. And you'll always have to play all of the witches that you have in your lineup. Then you're going to resolve the mission, finding out if you're successful or not. Finally, well, almost finally, you would choose whether you're going to trial or not, which is going to kind of set up the end game. And then finally, you would have a recover phase if you did not go to trial. All right, so just going quickly through that. You can play any of the witches that you want before you choose a mission. And you say, well, why would you necessarily want to do that? Well, let me just give you an example here. One of these witches I have to begin with is Hannah Miller. When you play a witch, you're either going to be playing them for their hidden side or their revealed side, all right? And the difference is a couple of things. You have the strength here. If you play them in their hidden side, they're going to have a weaker strength. If they're on the revealed side, they're going to have a stronger strength, and they're going to usually have a better ability down here. So why would you ever not play them revealed? The reason why is that if you're working out in the open, you raise some suspicion, you get arrested, you go to jail. Essentially, you don't have access to that card unless you're able to find a way to get them back. Look at the hidden ability here. Uncover 1 conviction card on any juror. So let's say that I decide I'm going to be going for this mission. I want to kind of see what one of the values behind these cards are. The idea is at the end of the game, when you go to trial, you want to have your persuasion marker equal to or higher than the persuasion values here. These are cards that go from 1 to 6. So let's just flip over this one. All right, so now we got a little bit of information. One of the cards is a 3, all right? So we know the maximum value this juror could have would be 9, but it could even be less than that. So I've played this witch. I played it on their hidden side, okay? Then I'm going to choose this mission, investigate strange lights at the church, okay? So this started with 3 challenge cards. That's determined by this little value here. This one has 4 to start, this one has 5. I'm going to choose this one, and what you do is you flip over all of the challenge cards that are at that mission location. All right? These cards are going to have oftentimes some effects. One of those effects is what's called chosen. And so let me show you that. That happens to be on this angry mob. It says you can't overcome a mission while it has any angry mobs. So that says that you can't even try to tackle this mission until you get rid of the angry mob first. The skeletons actually are working very similarly. You cannot overcome a mission while it has any skeletons, and also it's going to add 1 to its difficulty for each hidden witch in play. Well, I don't happen to have a hidden witch in play. Another effect that could happen is during a failure. If you fail at this mission, you would lose a random hidden witch. The only way you would not have that happen is if you defeated the wild boar first. Then if you failed the mission, you wouldn't have to deal with the boar's effect, but you would have to deal with an effect at that mission. All right? That's the general idea. You play any witches you want. You choose a mission, and then you play your remaining witches, okay? As I showed you, either on their hidden side or on their revealed side, and you're going to be adding up the strengths of all of the witches that are in play, and you're going to be trying to overcome these challenges and successfully complete the mission. So, as I mentioned, in this case, I couldn't even go for that unless I went for these. All right, so let's say I took those out. Now I could go after that. Let's just assume that I had enough to take care of that. Then this wild boar is not going to even trigger because I didn't fail. The success on a mission gives you the ability to raise persuasion. So what this is saying is, if I choose the juror that is associated with this mission, I can raise their persuasion by 2, or I can choose any other juror and raise it by 1. So since I know I'm kind of working towards this one, I'll just go ahead and move it up 2, and then I would have 3. All right? At this point, you could choose whether you would go to trial. You would certainly not do it on your first turn of the game. Going to trial is basically where you're going to be comparing your persuasion values to the values that are behind all of these jurors. So I would need to be at or above 8. Ooh, that's a rough one. 10 and 7. Okay? At that point, if you've gone to trial and you would compare those values, if you're able to persuade all 3 jurors, you would be innocent, a complete victory. If you convince 2 of them, you're not guilty, that's a draw. If you persuade 1, it's a minor loss, you're guilty. And if you complete none, evil reigns, it is a major loss. But there are some other ways that the game can end before you even go to trial. If you ever fail 2 of these missions, that is a loss, an instant loss there. If the total number of villagers on cards in the Lost Souls pile is 5 or greater, this is the Citizens deck, and there'll be card effects that will cause you to put one of them into the Lost Souls. So they've got different numbers from 0 to, I believe, 3. We can look at them in a second. If ever the total is 5 or above, so let's say, for example, these 2 villagers were in the Lost Soul pile, that is also a loss. All right. You can also lose when you're told to gain a curse and there are none left. You started with 3 curse cards shuffled into your starting hand. There are 3 more that will be added or could be added through effects. If you needed to add another one and you didn't have any, that would be a loss. If you ever draw a hand and there's no witches in it, that would be a loss. And there are some card effects that can tell you that you are lost. That's the general idea behind the basic version of the game. There's also this book, Tales of Wildegren's, that changes the game, puts it into like scenarios, things along those lines, changes up some of the rules. But this is the basic game. Let's head back over and I'll let you know, well, we'll let you know what we think. All right, so there you see Witchcraft, and as I mentioned briefly in the overview, or not in the overview, in the intro, this is a kind of an iteration on an earlier game called Resist.
Right.
Right? And they've made a few changes, I think some more substantial than others, but if you've never played Resist, how would you kind of describe this system? You see what I'm getting at as far as like the core system of both games?
It's kind of it has this push your luck feel to almost every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's this idea of, hand management, I guess, or kind of deck management, in which you are utilizing your characters to do something overt and expose yourself, right? And say, I'm here, I'm doing something tremendous, usually. And unfortunately, I'm thrown in jail for doing so.
Yep.
Or do something that you do be in the shadows, and it's a little smaller of an action, and you get to hang on to that. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of these binary choices,
Correct.
Which of these 2 things do I make the call for? Which of these, normally 3 sort of events, do I go for? Mm-hmm. Can I handle that thing? What cards do I play? And then choose, like, okay, here I go. Reveal all this. And I go, ooh, I'm not going to be able to do it all. which ones do I sort of check that mark? Yeah, but push your luck is sort of the core of this game.
At multiple levels. When do I say I'm done taking missions? Because if I lose another one, I might, if failing 2 missions, automatically lose the game. I might get villagers killed if I can't complete this, which, as we said, the Coven is actually protecting this town.
Right.
And so if too many villagers die, then you are accused. It falls on you. So when do you just say, done? Have I convinced the jurors well enough of our innocence?
Right.
So yeah, push your luck in multiple regards, all layered on top of each other.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
and I think another kind of core element, because what you were talking about is across both of those games, and so that's kind of why I was like, if you know Resist, you'll kind of be able to see the things that are similar, and if you don't know Resist, you'll get an idea kind of how it works. Another thing that is similar to both in the core is this idea of you're basically drafting your starting characters. Right. So you'll have I think it's 12, is that right?
Yeah, so there's a deck of 24 and you draft 12.
Right.
The other 12 are sort of sitting in reserve.
Yes, exactly.
And you might be able to claim them and use them.
And so that's an interesting thing too, is kind of figuring out, which cards synergize particularly well, which cards do I think I might want to use it for hidden roles or for their exposed powers. I think that's an interesting part of it too, because you're kind of trying to set up your whole game there at the beginning, but that doesn't always work out the way you think it will.
Yeah, and there's a small amount of, this game feels like a fairly small game. There's really just a few moving parts. But the effects and the powers, the abilities on your characters, on the things opposing you, on all of it, really are varied enough to paint an interesting enough picture.
Right.
To be like, okay, well, this character lets me look at the top 3 of my deck and affect that. This one lets me go over here and get somebody from reserve, spring someone out of jail.
Right.
This one lets me affect the opposition this round. I can just remove one of the cards that are, staring me down. So with few moving parts, there are enough effects that really it feels like a bigger game than that.
Right, and something that's specific to Witchcraft that I think makes that portion of the game, that initial draft, even more impactful and interesting is the idea that you've got these families.
Yes,
right?
I love that.
Right.
It's a great new addition over
really
the
is.
previous game.
Yeah, so basically you've got family names, and the way many of these work will be you get an effect based on the number of that family that you've played.
Yes.
Right, and so it kind of encourages you to synergize in that way, and I really like that little change. It's subtle, but I think it's pretty impactful.
And it's nice that, so you can just play with a random 12 or a recommended 12, but if you do the draft, I really like that. It doesn't add too much time, and it's a solo game.
Quick. That draft of 12 is quick.
Yeah. Flip over 2. I'm keeping this one. This one goes to the I might recruit it later pile. And you're like, I'm going big Sullivans. And then a Sullivan comes out, and then this other card, and you're like, well, I also know that I don't have a lot of just straight up strength, like a number. This one goes up to a 4. I might pass on this one Sullivan to get this. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
It's not so simple it's dumb decisions.
Right.
It's
I
still great.
I agree with that. Yeah, the game has a fun feel, and then in the box you are getting 2 game modes, really.
Right.
So the sort of main game mode with these 3 jurors that you are attempting to affect, that's sort of the way they introduce the game, and all of that stuff is different from the previous game.
Yes.
And, it's sort of a series, right? The Resist and this have obvious shared DNA. There's no question. But then they give you that book of tales or what have you, and that's a little closer to Resist, I would say.
Yes.
Where you're sort of beating challenges and you have to achieve a few of them. Yeah. I think there's an unfortunate side effect of that is there's a little more setup in this one with like, okay, wait, these cards aren't in, and then I need to find these specific challenges and make a deck of just those, and it bogs down something that normally is very shuffle up and play, depending. But you do have that variety in the box, And I do like the Jurors game being its own fresh new thing, and I find that mode just interesting. A little more sort of, again, that big push your luck aspect of it makes this feel, is the one thing that makes it really, really feel different from Resist. That wasn't in the other game.
Right.
And I enjoy it. Yes, it can kind of bite you sometimes.
I was going to say, do you think it feels harder?
No, I think this game's easier, actually, than Resist.
Really? Okay.
I think it's easier to play. It might be harder to win.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
That's what I meant.
It might be harder to win, but I remember playing Resist and just being pummeled.
Yes.
Just feeling like I cannot do anything. In this one, I can definitely pass more challenges.
Right.
And then by the time I'm like, I don't think I can go for another round. I'm going to call it and go to trial. Yes, it's possible I flip one over. I had 7 and they needed 8.
Right.
I'm like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But I only felt that disappointment the last 10 seconds.
Sure.
See what I'm saying?
You weren't being consistently feeling punished.
Yeah, this game feels less nasty than the last one, I think.
I think the challenger cards that come out with the locations, I think there's a few more kind of positive ones.
Yeah.
And there's fewer situations where in Resist, sometimes you'd flip over the guards at an area and
Right.
be like,
Oh,
this one makes everything one stronger. You're like, crap, flip over the next one. It's like, this one, you can't defeat any other guards until you defeat this one. And you're like, bad combo. You flip over the next one, you can't win the mission unless you get rid of this guard card. Okay,
Right.
well, he's...
I
right.
can't,
Yeah.
And there's
There were
some of
more of
those
those moments.
Some of those things are in here.
There
They just
are.
seem less punishing. I don't know what it is. You also have the familiars.
The familiars is a nice
Which is
new
a
addition.
positive kind of card you can win and keep in front of you. That's also a new concept, if I'm
Yep,
not mistaken.
it is.
So I think this one has a few more moving parts. I also think it's a little less nasty than the last one, as far as just being able to dig in there and play.
Yeah, one other, I think, obvious difference that we can mention is the theme.
Yep.
I personally prefer this theme. I think that they did a really good job of not only coming up with a theme that I don't think this is overdone. I don't think, the idea of this isn't exactly Salem Witch Trials, but it's definitely in that kind of,
Sure, it's inspired by kind of, yeah.
that. I like that, especially with the way that they approached it.
Yes.
And quite honestly, it gives us a chance to see more of this incredible art.
Yes.
Because you've got these really nice, large, well-done cards. The game just is gorgeous, in my opinion, and I prefer the look of this slightly. Although Resist was also a gorgeous game, right? But yeah, I don't know. I just love the production. The box size is great. The cards are great quality.
Resist to me feels like more of a serious game.
Yeah.
The theme is more serious. It's based on something that's a little closer to us in time frame and taken very much specifically from an event in history.
Right.
Whereas this is, again, inspired by something that happened quite a while ago. And I just find it to be a little more rigorous in theme and trappings and the way it makes me feel when I sit down and play. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play Resist. This one I'm more like, woohoo, the Sullivans.
That's right.
The Sullivans are about to rain down upon you. I love that. I love that this one's a little more lighthearted, while still giving me all the good stuff that I found in Resist.
And it's funny because this is where I'm the opposite with you guys.
Okay.
In that I like this theme. And it's not like a moralistic opposition.
Yeah.
I think that this is done very fun. I really like that you as the Coven of Witches are the protagonists.
Right.
Yes.
I really like the way that's handled. I just love a little bit more of that heaviness in Resist,
Sure.
where every time that Adolfo gets arrested, I feel more in that one than the Sullivan sisters and the O'Malley family.
Right.
Like this is, I feel more personality from Resist.
Sure.
But I think that you feel it from a place of kind of as you're alluding to,
Gravitas.
gravitas. Exactly. Yeah. And I like that just a little bit more. It does edge it out for me. The other little downside is I think that this game has more setup. Either mode of the two modes you play.
Yes, agreed. Yes.
It's not as bad as, but kind of like Arkham Horror, the card game. Okay, find the cards that have this symbol, because I'm playing with these 3 this time, both in the Challenger's deck and in the Juror's deck, and also actually in this one over here. It's like just a little bit more time to just get it onto the table. And the theme for me is, I'm just the opposite there.
Yeah.
And that's such a point of subjectivity.
Of course. And do you want to just dovetail this into your final thoughts?
Absolutely. I love both of these games. They're phenomenal. I have those little complaints here and there, like I said. I'm still giving this one an 8.5 because it's a seal of excellence from me. I gave Resist a 9, and so it's hard to not directly compare the two when they are, obviously, as you said, DNA. Right? This is the Resist is the antecessor to this one here. And I will see myself pulling that one out a little bit more because of the ease of setup and playing into it, and I like the gravitas that comes with it. But at the same time, this is one that I could absolutely recommend, and if this theme calls to you more than serious historical war, then just get this one.
Yes.
None of those complaints make me at all hesitant to say that this is an excellent game. It's an 8.5.
Yeah, I have a strong sense we may have similar scores. Mine is also an 8.5. I think that this does so many things well, right? I think it's just a classy, quality product all the way around, right? It looks fantastic. It is a pretty impeccable design. Like, you don't feel like anything's imbalanced. It's difficult. It's very difficult.
It is difficult,
but it doesn't necessarily feel arbitrary. I'm personally thrilled that there are more solo-only options out there that are just terrific games that I think have the potential to draw people into trying out a solitaire game that maybe wouldn't have before. I do slightly prefer the theme. I do slightly prefer the look, although both are great. Yeah, I think the game is excellent, and that's why it gets a seal of excellence. The only thing bringing it down a little bit is just those little quibbles that I think we all kind of agree on, many of the quibbles.
I think so, yeah.
But they're not enough to take it down from something that I would highly recommend to just about anybody.
Yeah, I like it much more than I liked Resist. I had a harder time with that one.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Again, maybe it's an illusion, but I found it to be a much more challenging game to do well in, to sort of make progress in. It beats you down much more. And again, maybe that's part of the theme, and that you appreciate that. Maybe it's me. I don't know. But this one I really enjoy, and I like all the things that we've been talking about. All those little things, save one, which I'll come back to in a second, make this a better game than that. I'm giving it a 9. I'm really, really enjoying it. I like everything it does. The only thing I do think is a flaw, you said everything's well balanced and perfect. I still don't like that system of flipping over villagers.
Oh,
when you lose villagers, you flip over a random card out of 5 or 6, and it's 1 or 2 or 3. There's a single 3 villagers, right?
And a single 0.
And a single 0 villagers. You get to 5, you die.
Yes.
That's just too swingy for me. I just don't like it.
It could happen in 2 flips.
Yeah. I just don't like that system. It doesn't happen as much in this one, which is kind of why I'm it's okay.
Yeah.
Because in fact, I've been able to play several times, and I haven't killed anybody yet.
Yeah.
I haven't had to flip even one. But I just don't like that system. I just don't like this feeling of I flip over one card and it's 3 villagers that died, and I'm like, that sucks. That's just bad luck.
It is, yeah.
It's too small. There's not enough. It doesn't even out. It's you just flip the 3 and that sucks. But everything else, man, this game is fun. It's vibrant in play, in emotions, in setting. I have a great time with it.
I think Albert Montes should illustrate more games.
I agree.
Love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a graphic novelist, I think, by trade, but I'd be thrilled to have him do some more stuff in board gaming. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Witchcraft. Until next time, I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Z Garcia.
And I'm Chris Yee.
And let's all be a little witchy.